This is Apostle Keith Barr. I'm glad to be here with my former doctor.
I moved up north. I'm serving a small community up in the UP.
Well, he's been my doctor for, I don't know, maybe 10 years.
Yeah, at least.
And but we were talking about, was it 2015?
Yep.
I got sick, and make a long story short, was the hospital with congestive heart failure, and they called him and told him that I wasn't going to make it. And so God gave me many miracles, and we got the proof from it. As a matter of fact, we had Dr. Paul had been treating him for a few years, and I forgot how long ago I went in with bone spurs. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I asked you, I said, can I get some pills for that? He said, oh no. And said, we got to lay you on your back and slit you open and saw those bone spurs off. And so I asked you, well, how much is that costing? And I think you said 20,000, something like that at the time. Do you remember?
Boy, it was outrageous, I know that.
Yeah. And I said, shoot, it's time to believe God. And so I think it was a day or two, God had totally healed those bone spurs, and they're gone. I mean, you know, because I couldn't even walk. I mean, couldn't put hardly any weight on that heel at all. Mm-hmm. So he had seen God do some different things for me. And so he's going to read and talk to you about my condition, because I had congestive heart failure and pneumonia in May of 2015. I knew I wasn't going to die because the Lord had told me I was going to go to Mexico, and I had to go, and I had to be there by June the 1st. Paul, why don't you just take over from there?
My name is Dr. Paul Haddock, and as Reverend Barr told you, I was his personal physician, and he gave me permission to share his case. It was a very interesting case. I got a phone call from my cardiologist in May of 2015 regarding Reverend Barr, that he had a significant heart failure, and they did a heart cath on him, and he had a 15% ejection fraction, which normal is 50 to 70%. At 15%, that's usually criteria for heart transplant, basically very poor prognosis. Cardiologist expanded that Reverend Barr told him that he was going to Mexico at the 1st of June, and my cardiologist was convinced and tried to tell Reverend that he was not going, that he was critically ill, and will need to follow up and possibly need a heart transplant. To my dismay, about 3 days after discharge, Reverend Barr actually walked into my office, and I was floored because I talked to the cardiologist, and I was told that he was not going to leave the hospital, and that he had a ejection fraction of 15%, and that he would probably require open heart surgery. They also, I'm looking at the discharge summary, and they sent him home on oxygen, and they recommended a life vest. And what a life vest is, it's a vest that you wear when your heart stops, basically because of the congestive heart failure. He's predisposed to fatal arrhythmias, sudden cardiac death, so you wear this vest and it electrocutes you or shocks your heart back into normal rhythm. Basically, this is very poor prognosis, and was quite disturbed that Reverend was in such bad shape. And once again, to my dismay, he walked into my office 3 days later, and I asked him what he was doing, and he basically said he was getting ready to go to Mexico. Shortly after I examined him, I was basically floored that he had no symptoms. He had no sign of heart failure, his lungs were clear, he had no swelling in his feet, his blood pressure was good, and he was not short of breath. Basically, make a long story short, the Reverend did go to Mexico, and I got a call from the cardiologist shortly after he left the office, and he was basically just as shocked as I was. He basically told me that his ejection fraction improved to around 40% without explanation, meaning considering heart transplant, 15% ejection fraction, 3-4 days after 40% ejection fraction, which I've done this 30 years now and never seen a patient turn around that quick and actually improve without basically knowing what caused it or why he improved that dramatically. And of course, as Reverend will tell you, he told the cardiologist that he was going to pray about it, and he was going to go. And to our disbelief and dismay, he did go, and he did improve. And I'm sitting next to him today, and obviously he looks great. He's doing well, and I'm just basically reviewing case history. Basically, you know, you guys can delineate or figure out what happened.
Had you ever seen anybody come back from 15% without any?
I mean, truthfully, no. I mean,
Okay.
not, especially when you went to Mexico, you climbed the mountains. My cardiologist basically said it was nothing short of miraculous, and I, you know, cannot explain it, and there's still no explanation to this day.
Right. I mean, the explanation is God did it.
Yes, absolutely. That's once again, I've done this a long time, and you know, I'm just sharing this with you. And Reverend Barr hunted me down, made me come back 400 miles to tell his case history, and you know, I was honored that he asked me, and pleased that he's doing well. God's not done with him yet.
I thank God I've been, you know, since that time I've been to Mexico. I was in, I mean, before I went, the Lord had told me, He says, I'm going to send you to Mexico and I'm going to make you, you're going to work harder than you ever worked before. And at the time I said, Lord, are you trying to kill me? Because, you know, I love the ministry. It's easy to get caught up in it, and it's easy, you know, when you do something that you love, you believe in, it's easy to overdo it, you know, because this, you know, we're human beings, we're finite, we have finite, you know, strength and energy and everything, and so I just couldn't believe it. But when a month later I was preaching in 118 degrees, I preached 5 times in 2 days, 118 degrees, and that's probably in the shade. And so since that time, I've been to Africa, India, Guatemala, Central America, and Guatemala was hard because it was 10,000 feet up, and so I mean the elevation was 10,000 feet. And so, and then we were in one place that was even higher than that, because that's like on the San Cristobal. That's where that was. But we were up on mountains, you know, from that. So that was really, really. If you've never been in elevation that high.
Right. I mean, for people without medical issues, it's usually a problem.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking about more than twice what Denver is. And that was really, of course, to the people that live there all the time, they're, you know, they're used to it, you know. But that one was really hard. So, but it's been amazing what God has done and how God has strengthened me. You know, it's not. I'm just a normal human being. It's no, you know, nothing medically or anything that would make me have survived this. It was nothing but the power of God.
Everything happened for a reason, Reverend.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
Your work's not done yet, so. But I'm just honored to share this experience with you. And you know, as a clinician and a physician, I cannot explain it other than. Miraculous, and that's what the cardiologist said, and you're living proof. So God is great.
Amen.
Yeah. Amen.
Well, thank you. We're so glad that we were able to do this,
yeah.
and record this. You know, a lot of people don't. You know, I believe there's a lot. I know that there's a lot of people that can receive healing. Mm-hmm. You know, people have asked me now. Ever since I was a little boy, I prayed that God would use me this way.
Yeah.
And I often said, if I could pray for thousands of people, I could save millions in healthcare costs.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, but it's not, you know, It's not like fire, that fire burns everybody.
Right.
You know, but you pray for people, and you have to teach them to have faith to believe.
Right, absolutely.
To receive healing. You don't have to be a good person, but you do have to have faith. And that's what makes the difference. And so I was in church and I learned that from other people and what to do, and I've seen God do every type of miracle you could imagine. I've seen broken bones instantly healed, and you know, just things that diseases I've never heard of, incurable diseases. I've seen God do it, and there came a point in my life where I had to believe Him for my own healing, and I just thank God for doing it. So, and thank God for you.
No.
And you know, and helping me today, and you know, our relationship and what we've seen God do over the years.
And I received blessings for it, and I do appreciate it. I do.
Thank you.